Josh, you can't say that right as we're about to go. Okay,
Come on,
sorry, go ahead.
We're doing this. We're doing it live, pal.
Oh, no.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 207 of the Hoots podcast. We're recording this live right now on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. Same thing goes with Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher. Stamp shows on 10 different platforms. It's our favorite time of the week, at least from my point of view. It's my favorite day of the week because I get to record with some good brothers and talk about the greatest form of entertainment in the world of entertainment, then that's professional wrestling. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joshie. You can follow me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. I'm on Instagram, Joshie Lopez 94. That's Joshie. If you like to check me play out some guitar covers and stuff, I have a music page at Josh Lopez Music. I am not alone this week. Of course, I'm joined by the one and only director of operations. Remember, folks, never, and I mean never, go full Saxon. Isn't that right, Brother Carter? Yes.
Do you want me to get out my number cards and give you a rating for every segment that we do here, just like Saxton did on 316 Day? I can do that. I mean, I can. Okay, so how did I get the moniker of Saxton? That's what I want to know. I know. Brother Joseph thinks he's Corey Graves, but
I think originally he said it.
I will never go full out known to say the odd, occasionally goofy and ridiculous take on things. Although in recent weeks, Josh, I have been called a child for my opinions, which we'll get into a little bit later. But it's good to be here. I have a feeling today is going to be a very, very fun show with many laughs for the panelists as well as the audience. So glad to be here.
You know, I must say, like, humbly speaking, like, even if I wasn't like the host of this show, if I was like a Reds fan and looking for something to listen to over this time period of this pandemic, this would probably be the top show that I'd be listening to right now. We've been having so much fun over the last 2.5 months since Derek decided to join the show every single week and making the best out of this shitty situation that we're all in. And it's been a blast recording shows with you. The reason I brought up the don't go full Saxon line, I saw a video. By the way, this week in WWE history is the debut of King Booker in 2006.
Oh,
they brought this up on Backstage this week, and I saw a clip on YouTube of King Booker talking to your boys, the New Day.
Yeah,
and so King Booker gives these like royal names to Kofi and Xavier, right? And he just calls Big E Big. And Big E said, he's like, where's my royal name? You know how Big E gets his feel, right?
Right.
And he's like, King Booker's like, you have E in your name. and then Big E was like, you just went full Saxton on me. It was great. If you guys need to check that out on YouTube, it's a funny ass segment. It was a couple years ago after SummerSlam. I think it was in Toronto. It was hilarious. So go check it out on YouTube. Anyways, we're not alone this week as well. We're joined by the one and only Matt McCool. What's going on, my man?
Yo, Josh, Derek, so great to be back with you guys this week. Do want to say I second your opinion about, everybody listening to the show during the pandemic. You guys are always awesome, and it's an honor, a pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to being on today. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Derek, to the whole Saxon thing, Josh told me about it, and it's in terms of your personality and just how you act, it's very obvious to me.
Listen. It's so true. I am the Saxton of this. Like I embrace it fully. There's no question. But it's good to be with you again, Matt. How long has it been since you and I have recorded together?
An actual show?
Yeah.
A long time. I think maybe Pipe Bomb days. So
I was it would have been either Pipe Bomb or Warm Up, but no, because Pipe Bomb continued after we stopped Warm Up. But
yeah, it was definitely Pipe Bomb days, which has been like 3 years then, which is insane.
Wow, that's crazy, man. No, this is gonna be good. Hell yeah, good.
We gotta let the people know when we're gonna have this reunion show because I'm ready to have it, man.
Oh yeah, same here. Maybe like a couple weeks, June, July, something like that.
Wonderful.
Yes.
We have a lot of wonderful things we got to talk about, and we also have some serious stuff that we have to address throughout this podcast this weekend. I think it's very important to say this before we get to the minutia of what we usually talk about here on this podcast. There's going to be a lot of things that come out of our voices today that may come off as negative or disconstructive or just stuff that we've been holding in. Because, you know, it's interesting. Derek brought up the idea of doing like a state of AEW. We're coming off the heels of Double or Nothing, which is their biggest pay-per-view of the year. So I figured that'd be the case for a year in. Me personally, and I told Matt this before in the past, I'm not the biggest fan of talking about states of this. Like it gets overdone every single show. Hell, Sam Roberts has a state of wrestling segment every single week on his podcast.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know how many state of wrestling you could do. Basically, this podcast is a discussion as if me, Derek, and Matt are all sitting next to each other and we're talking about professional wrestling. That's it. But we're going to talk about our thoughts and what our overall view is of AEW. I don't know if we'll have enough time to break down every single thing from Double or Nothing, but we're going to spend the first 30 minutes of the show just have some real thoughts. And again, I want to make this perfectly clear. If I hated AEW, I would not go out of my way to spend 90 minutes every single week covering 10 different matches on AEW Dark, because now they figured they need jumbo-sized editions of AEW Dark now, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. But if I didn't care about the brand and I was just going for one company, I wouldn't cover them. I wouldn't cover NWA. I wouldn't cover MLW on a Saturday on my weekend. I wouldn't even cover Impact Wrestling, where I don't go to bed on Tuesday nights going into Wednesday morning to like 3 o'clock. So I don't want to hear any shit about, oh, you're just a WWE guy. I want all wrestling to succeed, but I'm not going to sit here and just sit here and tell you that, oh, everything they're doing is great. You know, I made the joke about Teflon Taz, but it seems like whenever there's a discussion about AEW, it's Teflon AEW, it's Teflon Cody, it's Teflon Tony Khan, it's Teflon the Young Bucks. The list goes on and on and on. And I think the gist of it, from my point of view, if I had to describe the state of AEW in one phrase, it's a false sense of security. I'll explain why in a little bit, but I want to hear from you guys first before we get to Double or Nothing. Just in general, what's your general thoughts of AEW as a whole as we speak here on May 28th, 2020?
Matt,
anybody?
For me, it's kind of a mixed bag. I mean, I think if you were to ask me a couple weeks ago, am I more into AEW than I was before after Double or Nothing? I would say yes in general. But I think the company, there is a lot of mistakes there. Obviously, they rely on a lot of WWE talent, which legitimizing the product, you know, from the start. Obviously, you have to do that, but that also comes with the negativity of you're not pushing your own stars. I think they're trying to create their own stars in a way, but it's been kind of a slow burn. I think the financials are there, the interest is there. Obviously, you know, they have an extremely popular base of young fans between 18 and 49, and I will get into numbers in terms of AEW a little bit later, but I do like AEW, but I think it's very it's hard to kind of paint AEW as this perfect wrestling company, because in my opinion they're farthest from that.
But Carter, go ahead.
Yeah, to me the biggest thing about AEW right now is they don't have their own identity as a brand, and I believe that because, and Matt hit on all the points, is that, and he's right, that you have to, in order to build some legitimacy, you do need to use some known talent in order to get people, to draw people in to watch your product. And so, and I agree with that completely. Like I understand that. We'll get into Double or Nothing in a little bit, but I think one of the great lines from Double or Nothing was when they were talking about the Stadium Stampede, And JR said, while the Elite were the first signings of the company, Jericho may have been the most important signing of the company. And I think that is 100% spot on. But then you get into Dynamite last night, and MJF, who I thought, to me, MJF is one of the absolute best professional wrestlers in the world right now. And he said, I find it very odd that I have become the hottest commodity in AEW, and I didn't need to come from another promotion to do it. And when he said that, I was just like, oh, that's it. That's AEW in a nutshell right there. So to me, it's they haven't found their own identity. They haven't found what makes them unique in the world of professional wrestling, because when you look at it's like, oh my God, yes, we're finally getting these people that were not utilized properly in another company, which means that their identity was found in another company. So I really think that's the biggest thing for AEW right now, is they just don't have their own personal identity as a company.
The reason I say a false sense of security is this. For me, the main difference between WWE and AEW is one thing. Actually, two things. Infrastructure and credibility. Whether you like what they do or not, they have credibility, and we all grew up with it. And they have infrastructure. And I want to give shout out to my boy, Jonathan Hood, my mentor. He said this perfectly. You should never have the boys making the key decisions in the direction of your company. We all, no matter what line of work, we have some type of filter to go through into what we're doing. And I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, I'm not for creative freedom, creative liberty, whatever phrase you want to use with. But I talked about this with Derek already, with my thoughts about Cody almost transitioning into a Jeff Jarrett role, where everything's about him. He has the first cage match. He has the first match on Dynamite. Every entrance he has is on Dynamite. It's like a fucking pay-per-view. Everything's about Cody, and we all know from WCW in the past about how it is when boys get into creative and having booking committees. And I say false insecurity because AEW lies in the fact that they think they can do anything they want because they're the company that's supposed to write the ills of the WWE. And for me, as a wrestling fan that's seen TNA grow from one part and then just completely bottom out over the years, and seeing Lucha Underground and seeing Ring of Honor and seeing MLW, I'm sorry, as somebody who's been watching wrestling for almost 20 years, it's going to take a lot for me to really say, hey, this is the company that's literally going to be the actual alternative to WWE. I'm sorry if that makes me jaded, but that's just facts. I look at AEW and I want it to succeed, but it has to do more than just, okay, here's Brody Lee. Everybody feels sorry for him because he didn't get the push. He didn't get in WWE. So let's have him have a title match on a pay-per-view, his first feud out the gate. Let's have Broken Matt Hardy come out. Let's have Jake Hager. Let's have the litany of former WWE superstars. Hell, the Revival made their debut on Dynamite last night. And we were joking around about it last week during the predictions. I actually had a feeling that Zack Ryder was going to show up in that horrible casino ladder match that we saw on Saturday.
It was trash.
So, for me, where I'm coming from, I want AEW to succeed. Hell, I'm wearing a Chris Jericho shirt right now that's probably designed for the people from AEW. I've worn AEW hoodie on this program before. Like I said, I covered Dynamite and I covered every single every single show that AEW's done so far since All In, the first thing that they did. I covered all those shows, and for me, I feel like you said it perfectly, Bret Carter. There's no identity. And we've been consistent about this. There's no identity. It's the only identity that you could say is that, okay, they're going to placate to every complaint that goes on Twitter. And I never know a business or a wrestling company that thrived and was actually sustainable off of message boards, wrestling Twitter and the dirt sheets. That's what the entire creative of that show is. It's not to say they don't have good talent. They have good matches. I'm not a big fan of their commentary team. And I'm saying that as a guy who JR is my idol as far as broadcasting is concerned. The commentary is not good. Again, every time you see something on AEW, you think about WWE. And how interesting is that? This is supposed to be the alternative, yet every time you see a segment or anytime you hear somebody cut a promo, you get some semblance of WWE. And Double or Nothing was a perfect example. That was not a professional wrestling show. That was a sports entertainment show. And we could talk about the revolution and being the alternative actions show instead of marketing campaigns. So I feel like they have a false sense of security because they're the new company. Nobody can say anything bad about them and hold it to a standard. You call yourself All Elite Wrestling until a certain extent. And I think that's a problem. Not only for the people that work in the company, but also everybody that covers the company, especially in the wrestling media world. So that's just my thoughts on that. If you guys could disagree if you want. I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on what I just said.
I just want to follow up real quick on one thing you said, Josh, and then I'll let Matt say what he needs to say. So you were talking about when you let the boys determine what's going to happen and how it always works out. And you brought up WCW, which is a perfect example. I still, one of my favorite things on the WWE network is the NWO documentary, or the Legends of Wrestling Roundtable on the NWO. Mm-hmm. And JR talked about it. He said one of the biggest things that killed WCW was people having creative control of their contracts. You know, for good or for bad, when you come to WWE, you know who the warden is. You know who's in charge. And then there's leadership there, and it's not the boys. It's the warden running the ship. It's not the inmates running the asylum. Anytime the inmates run the asylum, it all tends to not work out because you're dealing with egos. You're dealing with, well, I don't want to work with this person. I don't want to work with this person. I want to work with my friends. I want to work with the people that I think are the ones in the business. So there's just no objectivity there. And again, is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know, but it seemed to work for WWE for a lot of years. So I just thought that was a very interesting point that you made earlier.
Derek, I think your whole thing with identity is 100% spot on. Their identity pretty much is the Elite and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes, and that's it, period. Obviously, I think we have to give the company a little bit of credit here, and then it does take a gradual time to prove who you are, prove your identity, and they've only been out since October, so there's a lot more time to go, but I do also think that it's tough to talk about wrestling companies and booking and evaluate things when you don't bring in the financial aspects of it. And the bottom line is that AEW is a little quarter in WWE's dollar right now. And that's just the facts. It's just the numbers, TV deals, ratings. I know obviously they have a very popular young fan base, but it's really not even close. And Josh, I also want to say to your opening point that, yeah, I mean, you watch every single wrestling show, so you, if anybody, has the right to criticize AEW. You're not a WWE mark saying, oh, yeah, AEW stinks. Like, you see every single wrestling show, and we all have, views as fans, and I do like AEW. I do. There's lots of organic parts about it that I think are awesome, like Orange Cassidy and the Jungle Express and Jungle Boy, and I do like the Stadium Stampede match was awesome. I never thought I'd see something like that. Matt Hardy jumping out of the water and fighting in the pool and all the football aspects of it, because I'm also a big football fan, but there's also a lot of negatives too. And you can be constructive and not be negative. There's a fine line right there.
Yeah. Last thing real quick, Josh, and I'll be very, 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 very brief, is that I want to reiterate the fact that I do like AEW, and I watch AEW every week when I can because I'm intrigued and I want it to do well. But so I just wanted to get that out there, that I'm not an AEW hater or anything like that. Like, I really want the product to be successful, and I watch every week because I do think there are some good things going on there.
Yeah, and same here on my end too. I like AEW. I wouldn't cover the shows if I didn't like it. The guy I do help work out on Lords of Pain, he does give me he gives me the opportunity to choose what shows I want to cover throughout the weekend. I do it out of not only fun, but it's a personal challenge for myself. I want to learn different styles of wrestling, but the wrestling that you see on AEW, I can see on any other wrestling promotion. I'm trying to see what makes AEW AEW. That's my biggest issue with their show. As a television show, I don't think they have a good sense of flow as far as formatting a TV show. Brian Carter already hears this every single week. My thoughts on the tag team matches and the referees that are made to look like idiots. This stuff like that I notice because when I'm writing these transcripts, and you have freaking Aubrey Edwards. I'm sorry, she's not a good referee. I'm sure she's a wonderful person and does a great job on AEW Unrestricted, but she's a bad referee. It happens every single tag match where illegal moves are being done. And you're having a tag team match where you have fucking 40 tag outs in 2 minutes. Make up your fucking mind, man. I don't know if that's a mandate. Hey, we need as much moves that we could fit in a certain time interval, but holy shit, man. And I want AEW to succeed, but if the only thing that we're going to know about AEW is that, hey, this is just a new show that's on TNT, Tony Khan's just going to book the shows just to appease everybody that's on Twitter. I don't know if that's really an alternative at the end of the day. So let's move on, Rick. Let's talk about Double or Nothing that just went down this past Saturday night. I guess it really ties into what we were just talking about because, Brett Carter, we mentioned it last week. They had every bullet point that we made going into that pay-per-view on Saturday. And I guess let's start off with the juggler. Let's start off with the casino ladder match because I don't know what in the blue hell that was. So first thing, let's start off with positive since we're the balanced and not the irrational shows that are out there. I am happy for Brian Cage. I've documented a lot of his journey in Lucha Underground and in Impact Wrestling. Brian Cage is a very, very good wrestler. For his size, and he does have a presence. I don't know much about his promo work. It wasn't that really earth-shattering when it was in Impact when I did watch him, but Brian Cage is associated with Teflon Taz. I'm just going to call it Teflon Taz. I can't get out of my head. I'm sorry.
I like that name. Good one.
I am one of the few wrestling fans that actually like the Aces and Eights, so that's a compliment towards Taz. I'm not taking
I know Derek does too.
Teflon Taz. So they're a new duo, and this is tying into the kind of odd segments that Taz was having with Darby Allin before this pay-per-view started. And so Brian Cage wins the casino ladder match. He'll get a shot at Jon Moxley at Fyter Fest later on this summer. I know it's a no disqualification match, but why you need 8 other people that weren't announced in the match to interfere and do stupid spots that had absolutely nothing to do with the story of that ladder match? I know you can't have a major story in a ladder match. It's a given match. You're just gonna have crazy spots. I understand that, but why in the fuck do you need Marco Stunt to choke slam Orange Cassidy with a mini ladder? Oh, just to say he's on the fucking pay-per-view? I don't need to see him. He serves absolutely no purpose. And then you have Penelope Ford, who's already scheduled for another match on the show. She's interfering because Ty's new Roman Font can't win any matches by himself. Then you got Jimmy Havoc, who was in let's see the interference. We had, I can't say Taz interference because he was just standing on the stage. He really didn't do much, but it was Best Friends. They had Marco Stunt. You had, I said Penelope Ford, Jimmy Havoc. And it's just a freaking mosh podge of nonsense. I'll give a couple of cool spots. I thought the Darby Allin double foot stomp with the skateboard was pretty nasty, even though he didn't hit the actual move. But and then they're teasing a little separation with Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. I don't know where that's going to go, but happy for Brian Cage that he joined for AEW. I think he's a good addition to the roster, but just for a match concept, I thought it was horrible.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. Josh is really positive with this. I'm gonna be completely negative because I can't. I have to be honest. I'm gonna be 100% with you guys. I thought the match was awful. I thought it was discombobulated, disorganized. It made no sense. They booked it like a Rumble where somebody came out every 2 minutes, which makes zero. That's not how ladder matches is booked. I mean, WWE has had so many great ladder matches, Money in the Bank matches. There's so many, and not even just WWE, other companies. And for that to be your first quote unquote Money in the Bank ladder match, I thought it was awful. It put me in a terrible mood and actually almost ruined the whole show for me because I was actually watching with my parents and I had to tell my family, like, hey, this ladder match is terrible. They don't watch wrestling at all. But I don't know too much about Brian Cage. The only thing I'll say about that is I've already seen Chris Masters before, and I don't really like the big Ryback type guys. I would have much rather seen a guy like Rusev, even Zack Ryder, or just somebody completely random win the match. I love Orange Cassidy, and I think he is going to be a major star in the company. I didn't know he was a 15-year veteran, so there's that. I love the whole pockets thing. I disagree, Josh. I love the Jungle Express. I do love Marco Stunt because I did see him wrestle live for the first time. And if you know the story, I think Jungle Boy was hurt that day, and he hurt himself in warm-ups. And Marco had to go out there and wrestle in Philly by himself. And I actually thought, it's really pretty funny, I thought he was a little kid because I was all the way up top. I'm like, wait, why is there a little boy in the ring? What the hell is going on? It's actually Marco Stunt. But I thought the match was terrible. I didn't get anything out of it. No one got better, got advanced, whatever you want to say. And I think it was a really bad way to set up the show. And this is coming from somebody that, look, I wanted that match to be good. I wanted them to blow my mind out and to set the tone. But I was very, very disappointed. And I think it almost ruined the entire show for me.
Also, let's not forget the bad camera shots too during the match. Brett Carter, go ahead. What was your thoughts on it?
So I'm kind of in the middle between both of you guys on the casino ladder match. Obviously, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. For me, it was just kind of meh. It's just, And Matt, I agree with you. The format of that was bizarre. Like, how are you gonna start two people in a ladder match and then bring people out individually? What if someone would have won the match and not everybody had come out yet? Like,
that's not going to happen because not every person's out in the match. You're pretty much giving up the finish, just a bunch of fodder time.
Right.
So how is that fair? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I didn't like that. Josh, I'm with you. I thought the Darby Allin spot was pretty cool. And I've said this before. Darby Allin is going to be. He's one of the ones. There are 4 homegrown AEW performers that I think could make a big deal, should make a big deal. MJF, Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Orange Cassidy, I think, are the 4 that are really going to go from there. Go ahead, Josh.
Let's add Jungle Boy and Hikaru Shida.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll go with yes, absolutely. Jungle Boy and Hikaru Shida. Yeah. So anyways, I thought that it was just kind of blah. Here's my thing about Brian Cage. 2 things about this. First, I'll say I heard of Brian Cage. I didn't have a chance to, like Matt, I didn't know much about him. But and Josh, you and I have been talking. You think he's a good wrestler, and I'm like, cool. I have no problem with that. I could see where the appeal for him being a good wrestler is. He seems like he has a good moveset. He seems like he moves well in the ring. So I think that's great. I think putting him with Taz is good to have a mouthpiece, to be the speaker. I think that's totally cool. That's great. But in the actual double or in the actual casino ladder match, unless you knew who Brian Cage was, you didn't really understand why he is going to be a big deal. He's just some big meathead, comes out, is buried under a bunch of trash, pops up, walks up and wins the match. And it's like, okay. And then the second thing following up with that is, do you really think they're going to put the title on him at Fyter Fest?
No, he's way. Just gonna, not a chance.
No. So exactly. So what you're basically saying with him is, okay, we're going to introduce new people to the company by giving them world title matches. And what does that do? That to me, that decreases the legitimacy of the world championship, because all we're going to do to introduce new star is give them world title matches so that they can job to our champion.
How many times do you hear about people saying that WWE Hot Shots title matches on pay-per-views and stuff?
Right. All the time.
But think about this, like, you make your debut. So yeah, of course he's the surprise guy. He's going to win the match. But your first impression, you have him come out and he gets buried under poker chips and doing the whole I was telling Matt about this while the show was going on, doing the whole freaking Brock Lesnar Braun Strowman thing where they just bury him and then he comes out and you know he really doesn't have a character, so I think Taz will help from that point of view. Like you said, you know, he gave the whole line back to Brian Cage, beat him if you can, survive if he lets you. I thought that was all right last night on Dynamite. But,
I have no.
I like the whole Taz thing with it, and I don't know. For me, it's just like, what does that say about your whole roster when you kind of shotgun a guy to a title match as soon as he debuts? When, let's be honest, I mean, not many people know who he is. Like, I'm not saying not many people, but it's not. If Zack Ryder would have come out or Rusev, completely different. But it just seems like it's very awkward, and the entire match was just very discombobulated, and it was a very weird finish too.
Okay, two other things I want to say. One is I actually did like the Double or Nothing set idea with the poker chips and stuff. I thought that was really, and the red ladders, like, that's cool. You got what their theme was, and I actually, if that's going to be their flagship show, I have no problems with that. I think that that's totally cool. It pays homage to their roots, all that stuff. No problems with that. So I think that's totally cool.
So would All Out be their SummerSlam?
I guess
I would think so.
Yeah, and that's,
I mean, this was. Last year in May, Double or Nothing was their first show, so you would assume that would be the biggest WrestleMania type show.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I thought that was cool. And I was going to say something else, and I can't remember what it is. So somebody else take over, and it'll come back to me.
All right. So we don't break down the entire pay-per-view. I'm just going to rattle off some other thoughts from the show that stood out to me. First off, always great to see Penelope Ford on the show. Great Lakes waterfall. Let's get that out of the way.
He said that to me.
She had a really quick match with Chris Stanley. It was what it was. I really enjoyed the Nyla Rose Hikaru Shida match. I'll say this though, Shida needs to come up with a different finishing move. I don't know how many knee strikes you need to put somebody away. It kind of makes you look bad when you need 15 shining wizards to put somebody down. But I thought that match was pretty good for what it was. I wouldn't say it was my favorite match of the show. My favorite match of the show was MJF and Jungle Boy. That's professional wrestling. That's the type of matches that AEW should have on their shows. It was a good pairing. Me and Matt were having a little back and forth about MJF, and we can get that later on throughout the show. But, I really enjoyed that match. Let's see real quick. The Moxley Brody Lee match. It was the same thing I thought it was going to be. We talked about this last week, Brother Carter. We have a match that was on Extreme Rules 2015, and it was the same match. Only difference was I'll say the Death Rider through the rampway. I thought that was a pretty cool spot. That was fine. It was a good match, but what's next and where's the story?
By the way,
it's done.
Where was the Exalted One on Dynamite last night?
Yeah,
if he's supposed to be this big guy that they're pushing because they gave him a world title match, he wasn't on the show last night.
Wasn't even advertised for next week's show. Go ahead, Matt. Well, what else stood out to you from the show?
I mean, look, I think my favorite part of the show by far was the Stadium Stampede match, and I'm sure we're going to get into that in detail, so I'll leave that part out of it. Mm-hmm. I love Jungle Boy. Derek, I'm really sorry, but I don't like MJF that much. I think he's got a great character. I like his promo skills, but in ring, I mean, there's just nothing to me that makes me say, okay, I need to see his matches every week. And that's just my opinion. I don't like that he's got an oversized dwarf walking around with him. It's a very weird pairing. He looks like a huge meat up dwarf. Anyway,
is he related to Cage?
What?
Is he related to Cage?
They're probably brothers from another mother, like Kane Undertaker, something like that.
Yeah.
I think AEW's women's division has gotten better, but I think for somebody to say it's the best wrestling company in the world and for them to have that division and the talent that's in there is a complete and utter joke.
Right.
And if you think that, I think the way they approach women's wrestling and kind of even where it was pushed in the card from the start, They didn't follow industry trends, and it almost was kind of a slap in the face to me. I mean, they had a lot of opportunities to sign a lot of people, and like Deonna Purrazzo, and they didn't do it multiple times. I did like the world title match, but like Josh said, I was actually at Extreme Rules in 2015, and they put on a barn burner of a match. I mean, Harper and Ambrose, went the house show circuit and did that match multiple times for months and months and months and months. And this is probably right as they're going to Europe. So it was a physical match, kind of what I expected, but WrestleMania type match, probably not if that's AEW's WrestleMania. And I did think the MJF and Jungle Boy match was good. I'm just not as sold on MJF as Derek is. But overall, other than the Stadium Stampede match, I thought the pay-per-view was very, very lackluster. And I said that to Josh that day and afterwards, but I had high hopes for it. And I think overall the card was meh if you take out the last match.
Right.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, just a few things. I remember what I was going to say earlier. Number one, Josh, I'm going to disagree with you on one thing, and I'm going to side with Matt here. I like Marco Stunt, too. I think that he's hilarious. I think that he knows he's a comedy spot guy. Like, that is his role. And like last night on Dynamite, he tried to choke slam Luchasaurus or something, or he tried to which I thought that was just really funny. So I don't have a problem with Marco Stunt at all. The other thing I was gonna discuss is that going back to the Brian Cage thing, what that does is that tells me what or who AEW is catering to. They are catering to more seasoned, a little bit more of the knowledgeable. I don't know if knowledgeable is the right word, but the people who do a little bit more research on professional wrestling, who are a little bit more invested than just surface level fans, fans who would just
look who the promoter is. The guy who's meant to subscribe to the freaking Observer newsletter since he was a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, that's who they're catering to, which I don't know if that's going to work, because if you think about it, one of the complaints that people have to WWE is, they cater to kids and, it's more of a da-da-da show. But what they do is they hook in these kids, and then those kids become WWE fans for life. So they are professional wrestling fans for longer in their lives than the type of fan that AEW is catering to, if that's where they continue to go. Because again, who are they going to try to rope in later on in life? I'm thinking like 5, 10, 20 years out. So I think that is interesting, and that's something we can perhaps talk about as well. My overall thoughts of Double or Nothing is much like with Matt. I thought the card was meh. MJF Jungle Boy match, I enjoyed it. I thought that was fun. I didn't really care about Dustin Rhodes, Shawn Spears. I didn't really care about let's see, I'm just going through the card. I didn't really care about the Chris Stanley Penelope Ford match. I'm with you, Matt. Like, as far as the women's division goes, I mean, Hikaru Shida is great. I like her. Dr. Britt Baker, I'm a fan of Dr. Britt Baker. I think she's great, but overall, I think that the division is fine. I actually did like the Cody Lance Archer match. I thought that was a good match, and I thought that both performers did a good job. It was a very physical match, good storytelling along the way. And then, of course, the Stadium Stampede match I thought was great, too. But again, overall, I thought the card was, if that's your WrestleMania,
let's go back to the Cody match really quick. Cody's the first new TNT champion, so congratulations to Cody. Yep. I liked the match. I thought it was like a good old school pro wrestling match. Maybe could shave maybe like 5 minutes off of it. I didn't think it needed to be 25 minutes, but I thought it was a good match for what it was. Here's my issue with the match. I know Arn Anderson's the head coach of the Nightmare Family and that whole weird thing that they're doing. But like, why is your babyface manager shoving a heel off the top turnbuckle? We had this weird melee in the outside where Arn and Jake Roberts is all over the place, and they get ejected from ringside. They got Mike Tyson freaking yawning during the match.
Oh, I didn't.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
How much money did they spend for him to not only do Dynamite and try to recreate something 20 years ago, but also have him yawning on live pay-per-view? Oh man, that was brutal, man. Let me say this really quick. To to your guys' point with Marco Stunt and the MJF stuff, here's a little difference between me and everybody else that does shows like this. I'm not gonna look down on you for having difference of opinion. We all have wrestlers. It's just that one person that you just can't stand. I know for Matt, that's Alberto Del Rio. For me, that's Marco Stunt. I'm not gonna go Jim Cornette on you guys because I can do the goddamn motherfucking macho freaks.
Well, Del Rio just got arrested again. Do you guys hear about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Who got
Del Rio got arrested again for domestic violence.
Freaking nuisance.
Yeah.
Here's my thing on MJF. For me personally, I'm such a mark for heels that for me, MJF is just the epitome of that. Where you're not supposed to like him. Yes, he is a dick in real life. And for me, I'm kind of more old school and traditional in the way heels wrestle and stuff. So that's why I'm really into MJF. But going back to the Marco Stunt thing, he's just the only person I don't like. And I'm not saying that I don't like the Jurassic Express. I like Luchasaurus. I like Jungle Boy. Sometimes I miss on his name while I'm transferring out of the show because I always got freaking JR in the back of my head. Jungle Jack. Jungle Jack Perry. I'm like, can you guys just give me one name to work with, please? It's interesting. Like, which commentator was a bigger mark for who? This is a good question for everybody out there. JR for Jungle Boy, Vince for HBK back in the day, or Michael Cole for The Miz? That's a question I have for everybody.
Ooh.
I go with Michael Cole.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Michael Cole too for The Miz. Yeah, for sure.
Please,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh,
that was great.
No, please, let's never have a Michael Cole heel turn again, please.
God,
that was awful.
So I'm trying to think who is the wrestler that I just can't stand. I'm gonna think. The wheels are the grind's gonna be going here because I'm trying to think who's the wrestler that I absolutely.
I have a few. You guys know that.
I think Jake Hager is an honorable mention for me, Brother Carter.
Yeah, I know it is for you. Oh gosh. Okay, well let's keep going. And I'm gonna ponder this. Who's the wrestler that I just can't stand? You got Marco Stunt, Josh, Matt. You've got
Del Rio and Bret Hart.
Oh, okay.
Bret Hart.
There's mine, Matt. And as a Canadian, I'm going with Bret Hart too. I can't stand Bret Hart. He is such a whiny little bastard.
You guys heard my thoughts a couple weeks ago. He's just.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I know who mine is. I have two.
Okay, go ahead.
Bret Hart is one. CM Punk is the other for me. I can't.
Oh yeah.
I knew you were going there.
I'm sorry, Josh, but you know my thoughts on CM Punk.
No, it's okay.
It's how you can leave. And I know that he had his issues and fine, but how you could be such a whiny little bitch about everything in the pro wrestling industry and then leave at the height of your popularity because you didn't like where the okay. I know I'm offending a lot of people when I say that, but
no, you're not. You know what I appreciate about you two guys? You guys are consistent, and you don't get that a lot these days. So
thank you.
Again, I'm a Punk mark.
I know
it is, but I'm not gonna begrudge you for you not liking. I get it.
Wait, what, Josh? You mean no? You and I can no longer be friends because I don't like because I can't stand your favorite.
I can't stand people like that.
Right?
Oh my god! How many people do? Okay, Josh. Okay, I'm sorry. Time out here. You were saying at the beginning of the show that Twitter is a cesspool, and you are so right. People take this stuff like it is life or death on social media, and it's like, guys, this is entertainment. There is so many other bigger issues in the world right now.
Right.
This is entertainment. You know,
you don't see people that are fans of Game of Thrones getting at people who like X, Y, and Z character and threatening their lives and blocking people on Twitter and bullying people. Come on.
Well, man. Well, bullying is this.
Let's save the JD stuff for later on.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Sorry.
All right. This is the last thing we'll talk about AEW, and then we'll get into what's going on for this week for WWE and stuff. Stadium Stampede. I'll start off here really quick. Here's my thoughts. I really enjoyed the presentation. For me personally, I didn't need commentary for the match. I thought Excalibur was excruciating to listen to during this match. Tony Schiavone's fine. I like Tony Schiavone. He's cool. it did take JR 3 fucking minutes to have some old schooler critique while the match was going on. Are you a play-by-play guy or are you a freaking scout? Like, and from a broadcasting point of view, I thought that was just excruciating to listen to. But let's talk about the match. Let's get into the positive stuff because this is probably the best thing AEW has done so far for their company so far. The layout of the match was cool. I really popped for the Sammy Guevara running away from the horse. I thought that was pretty funny. I'll say I put it on Twitter. Stadium Stampede is the best thing that's going to happen in that football stadium this year. So,
oh yeah.
That's not going to be a pretty season.
Hashtag tank for Trevor.
Tank for Trevor,
dude. They said after his freshman year he was going to be he could be the number 1 pick after his freshman year. So it's like that actually might not be a bad strategy.
A lot of pressure on a guy. Hopefully he's that good.
Well, if anything, his long blonde hair and he'll get modeling deals out the wazoo, so he'll be fine.
I forgot the name of the character, but you guys remember Zoolander?
Yeah.
Which one?
Wilson with the hair. I forgot the name.
Maxwell.
Yeah, there you
go.
Yes.
Yeah. No. Is it no? Hansel. That's what it is.
Hansel. There you go.
Hansel.
There. I love Zoolander.
He's so hot right now. Hansel.
Oh man. So Sammy's run away from Hangman Page, who's riding on the horse. Of course, me and Brother Carter had to pop for the pool of reincarnation. Yeah.
Oh, Derek, I'm sure.
Even though I'm not a fan of the Judas effect, I thought the one that Jericho did to the mascot was pretty funny. I just thought overall the presentation of the match was awesome. The finish with Omega doing the one wing angel is pretty nasty. Hopefully Sammy Guevara's neck was not messed up. I was surprised he wasn't wearing a neck brace. I don't know why he needed a crutch. But anyways, I thought that was a really cool match. It was what it was. It was kind of like a consolation prize because they weren't able to do the bloody guts match due to the pandemic and everything. But all in all, I really enjoyed it, and this saved the show from it being an F for me.
Yeah.
But I really loved the Stadium Stampede. I thought it was a great match. What was your guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I love the match. Everything from the start, from them running out and being announced by having all the cheerleaders out, from them running and fighting in the ring for a little bit. MJF comes out with a horse. Everything from MJF saying to Jake Hager, "So you here to drink, you here to fight," and then they fight in the bar and throws them across the bar. I thought that they just used their surroundings and the current situation of what we have right now in that whole stadium, which obviously the Khans own, perfectly. People got Ortiz and Santana got done when they were thrown in the ice box. I love the pool spot, and I've said to so many people that I want to be in one of those cabanas someday, even though I heard they're really expensive, and I'm sure the pool water is full of piss and other things I don't want to talk about right now. And I thought the ending, it was a great spot too. So I really, really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it even more when I watched it back the second day. And there is something else I do want to get into with AEW before we were done. I do want to talk about their audience. And Derek did bring up that, they're catering towards WWE, people that are bigger pro wrestling fans, and obviously people that have issues with WWE. And I also will say that people from the 90s that left NWO and WCW and stopped watching wrestling because it's not TV 14 anymore.
Right.
And I think if you're going to become the top company in the world and you want to be the alternative to WWE, you must grow your audience. You have to grow your audience casually and beyond wrestling. And I think that I didn't get a chance to speak about the Cody Rhodes match. Bringing Mike Tyson in is great, and he's obviously going for a comeback and stuff, but you see what they're doing by bringing Mike Tyson in. They're trying to bring in more casual fans, and people begrudge WWE for doing this all the time. And it's ever since Cyndi Lauper, it's just a smart way to grow the company. And AEW clearly is doing this for a reason to bring in those casual fans,
right?
With their spots and everything. But overall, in terms of Stadium Stampede match, I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I completely popped, even the second time when Jericho hit the Jaguars mascot, the Judas effect. That was so funny. And then Jericho gets rolled over by the Lion Machine. All the little nuances of the match were perfect. And I'm right there with Josh, where I think that the whole card would have been an F had that match not happened, but I think it saved the entire show.
What about the Matt Jackson 100-yard?
Oh yeah,
suplex. Derek, what do you thought about that?
I thought that was great, and then he got a penalty for doing an Alex Wright dance.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. Oh my god! So I thought that part of it was great, but much like you guys, I thought that the Stadium Stampede match was awesome. I loved every bit of it. Right from the very beginning, when Matt, you mentioned the NFL introductions. That was actually one of my favorite parts of the match. Is they had the Jericho's theme music playing over when the Inner Circle ran out, and Justin Roberts did the introductions. So that's great. It's always great to hear Justin Roberts. Then the Elite came out playing their stupid theme song, and then I hate the Elite theme song. I think it's Josh. You don't like Sami Zayn's theme song. I can't stand the Elite's theme song. I think it's horrible.
It's
especially when it follows a song that I really like in Judas. I think that Judas is a kick-ass song and is perfect for Jericho. But anyways, so they came out. I thought Jericho challenging the play and then going to the replay booth was really funny. I thought that was hilarious. So it was one of those produced matches that WWE had done, but it was just different enough to make it stand out from what WWE was doing. And maybe it was because of the commentary aspect behind it, Josh, but I think it was just different enough that I thought that was great. I do have one criticism of the match, and that's when they broke 4 champagne bottles over Jake Hager's head. That's come on, man.
He would be on the ground.
Right. Even when they do one of them, I'm like, what you're sending, what kind of message are you sending here? After they broke 4 champagne bottles, I'm like, that's really freaking dangerous. And that could, if something goes wrong with the glass and it goes into his head and it, you have some cuts there that could lead to some serious damage. So I really did have a problem with that spot. But overall, I thought everything was terrific. Matt, I think you were talking about Hangman Page, not MJF. Is that correct?
Yeah. I Hangman Page. Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure that I didn't miss something with the match. But I thought, but overall, I really, really, really enjoyed it. And props to AEW for a very, very well done match.
Well, let's put a ribbon in the bow of AEW with this. We talked about last week. Brad Carter had a wonderful article that he put out on WrestlingRumors.net last week. Explain why AEW is proving why WWE is the top wrestling company in the world. And if you want to look for context, I think everything you just heard in the first 50 minutes of the show will placate everything you read in that article. So great job with that, Brett Carter, as always.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
I'm still shaking my head with the whole Mike Tyson, Chris Jericho thing from last night. I thought that was
so okay. That's so stupid. I'm sorry, but we knew exactly what was when he started calling out Tyson. They literally recreated the Tyson Austin segment from 20 years ago. What? And I agree with you, Matt. We know Tyson's trying to make a comeback. They've talked about that on First Take and other sports shows, but it was blatantly obvious what AEW was doing. And again, the identity thing. What's your identity?
I mean, they like you guys said, they completely ripped off a segment WWE did in the 90s. And it was even so much too that Jericho mentioned, he's like, on a Monday night. I mean, we're talking about WWE. We're talking about a segment from Raw 10 years ago. I think that Jericho is going to do a great job in this feud. It's going to be funny. Obviously, I think the Inner Circle is hilarious, and I laugh almost every time they're on the screen. I really do enjoy their work. But at the same time, it is a total ripoff, and it's obvious that they're trying to have people connect the dots from Raw 10 years ago to the Attitude Era, 20-some years ago or whatever. But right there with you guys on that.
Before we get to WWE, I want you just brought up sports real quick, because I thought it'd be nice to have a little break in between wrestling and talk a little bit about sports. So we have Matt here. Matt, really quick, what was your thoughts on The Last Dance?
All right, so I've only seen 2 episodes.
Okay.
I tell people my last dance as a sports fan has been watching The Last Ride. So I heard it's the best sports documentary ever, and I definitely am going to watch it eventually. But there's a lot of other things I'm watching right now: wrestling, Housewives, fun stuff. So I heard it's very good.
The Last Ride and The Last Dance has been fantastic.
Yes.
So far. I am kind of bummed out. I am kind of bummed out that we have to wait for part 4 and 5 till after Backlash. I think that was. Didn't they say that Brett Carter is going to be out after Backlash?
Yeah,
part 4 I think is not this coming Sunday, but the Sunday after, I think.
Yeah, it's after Backlash. So, yeah. So Last Dance has been a lot of fun. Really quick. We're getting some news. We're getting closer. Obviously, we're getting some more positive news in the world where rates and cases are going down and people are getting out of the hospital, which is good. Everything going around with the pandemic. You know, in my city of Chicago, we're just being dysfunctional because we want to be petty for politic reasons. Thank God that I don't ride either side of the political fence, because that is just a shithole all the way around.
Disaster.
But really quick, we're getting some news about the sports coming back, and we were talking about this yesterday, Matt, and we're excited for this 2014 tournament that's going to be going around for the NHL. Hearing some reports that the NBA might come back, Brother Carter, so it'll be interesting how that layout goes out. And of course, Major League Baseball got to be Major League Baseball. It'd be ridiculous.
Oh my God, that's such a joke.
And then obviously, in a more positive light, we're getting some good news that we're going to have a regular NFL season just the way it is. So hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And all this stems from the pandemic being fluid. This thing could end at any time. So,
yeah, sure.
Right. My issue with the whole pandemic, and we talked about this off the air and stuff, is just the constant throwing it in our face and trying to make us be fearful. Obviously, it's a serious issue and we all take it seriously, but there's other issues going around the world that's not just pandemic related, and to scare people home and think that the world's coming to an end with this virus, this thing doesn't do anybody any favors. Yes, better be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
But also better not to be paranoid in a lifestyle. So
yeah, if you watch a late night news program, and I've done this, my dad watches ABC like every night, it's like negative, fear, negative. It's like, it's not, you have to inform people, but there's a big line. And really quick before we move on, Josh, I thought when you brought up sports, you were going to bring up the NHL thing, and we were talking that day, and I almost could cry because, like, for me, the team that and the sport that I miss the most is the Flyers in the NHL, and the Flyers are playing the best they played my entire life, and to not have the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I think is the most competitive sports playoffs period in sports in general, it was really hard. And to see that hope that all these quote unquote experts, and I remember when I came on the show right as it started, Josh, you know, I said, look, we have to take it day by day. Sports will come back. And all these experts said sports are never going to come back, and boo-hoo, not till 2021. And to know that I'm going to get the NHL playoffs in late July, NHL playoffs, plus a 2014 tournament where there's a round robin between the top 4 seeds,
right?
And then teams get to play a best of 5 series and fight for the playoffs. That's like a bonus playoffs. I'm salivating the fact, watching it in the summertime. It's going to be fun. The MLB is a joke with what they're doing and how they're negotiating in public. It's disgusting, and it's kind of spitting in the face of the pandemic. For the owners to think that the players should take a pay cut right now, that's ridiculous. I understand the revenues are down, but that's asinine for them to think they would even remotely consider that. And for the NBA, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the NBA from Disney, knowing NBA and ABC and Disney are all together. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think, in like Josh said, in a lot of negativity right now with the pandemic and people being negative about wrestling, and obviously times are tough right now for everybody, but to see a little bit of positivity and a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel is a good thing.
Right. Brockart, what was your thoughts with the news coming out with sports? What are you looking forward to coming back?
To me, it's just a sign that we are slowly starting to return to normalcy. And that's something that I'm very, very, very excited about. And it's giving people hope, which is something that we all need right now. I agree with you guys so much about Everything on the news is negative, 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 negative. But again, that's what the media has been doing for, since television, since media was born. It's
Right.
for X amount of years. That's what the media does, is they produce negative, because unfortunately negativity means ratings. But I agree with you. We're getting some hope of some things. I think it's great, even if it's an abridged format. I'm so excited to see the NHL playoffs back. And actually, I think this is a great move for hockey, because this is a perfect opportunity to get new viewers into hockey, because people want to watch something. And so, it's hockey is not as big in the United States, at least in the southern United States, as it is in Canada and the northern United States. So this is a perfect opportunity for the NHL to bring in some new viewers. So I think that's great. Seeing the NBA finish out their season, I think, is going to be terrific. I know that's a lot of people are very excited about that. Baseball is what it's going to be. It's still going to be boring, but it is. There are some people that still like baseball, and that's all fine and all well and good. But no, I'm thrilled about it. It's just giving people hope, which is what we need right now.
I wonder what's more petty, a war with Vince Russo and Jim Cornette, or the baseball players and the owners, because it's just bad, man.
We could do a whole show on that, Josh.
You guys brought up the greatest point about capitalizing on potential TV viewers. And the one sport that needs it out of everybody right now is MLB, because from an entertainment standpoint, for me, they're at number 4.
Yes.
It sucks for me because I grew up playing baseball as a kid, and I've always been a big Chicago White Sox fan. Go ahead, Burkhart. What do you want to say?
I was just going to say, I would rather watch golf, and I'm in all seriousness about this. I would spend a Sunday afternoon watching golf than I would, and maybe it's because I play golf and I'm a golf fan, but I would rather watch golf than baseball. I'd even watch tennis over baseball. I'll play tennis. Wow. I like tennis.
Here's the thing. I want to give a shout out to B-Rob. He's going to get a laugh out of this. I would rather watch Mr. 3000, which is a baseball movie with Bernie Mac, than watch baseball right now. Okay,
I love that movie. It's a great one.
But honestly, though, they are missing out on so much of trying to re-gauge the younger audience into their sport. I'm kind of bummed out as a White Sox fan, because it looked like this year was going to be a chance for them to break out a little bit. We'll see what the Phillies are doing still with their rebuild with Bryce Harper and stuff. And I was curious to see what baseball is going to do this year. I could care less what happens in Wrigleyville. That place is a freaking dump. That whole area is a dump, actually, to be honest with you. But let's see what else really got from sports. Oh, hockey. Of course, I'll never be mad to see these guys behind me in the playoffs taking on Edmonton. We still have the players that are able to conquer, if you will, playoff adversity, winning 3 Stanley Cups in the 2010s. I don't think they would win it, just being realistic for what the team they have right now. But it would just be cool. I do agree with you, Matt. Stanley Cup, as far as playoffs are concerned, is the most entertaining and competitive energy when it comes to playoffs in sports. It's not like it was when we were younger with the NBA, where like you felt like this energy and this wave when basketball was fun and you didn't get fouls for passing gas or saying hello to your opponent during the game, right, Brother Carter? All these ridiculous fouls that we get in the NBA these days.
Awful.
And lastly, my thoughts with the sports really quick. I am so pumped up for this football season. I can't tell you, man. I'm just really excited to see what goes down there. Hopefully, R-Truth does find a way to sneak into Tampa Bay's training camp and steal the championship. Let's say that.
You know that's going to happen, and they're already talking about it, man. Trust me.
Matt, Josh and I have talked about this. I want to see him win the title during a game. Like where Gronk is celebrating in the end zone and he's doing his thing, and then all of a sudden Truth comes out and pins him, takes the 24/7 championship from the sideline and runs off. I think that
he's like pretending to be like a cameraman on the sidelines, and then Gronk is celebrating. He gets up and punches him in the face. And Josh, really quick, the Blackhawks Oilers series is probably one of the most intriguing of the first round play-in matchups in the NHL. It's going to be a really competitive series, and I actually think the Blackhawks do have somewhat of a chance to win. The Oilers are obviously playing really well. They have the MVP of the league right now, but it's going to be a fun series for you to watch, man.
You know, it's a shame. Patrick Kane is probably one of the best hockey players, not just in Chicago history, but in NHL history. And this dude does not get the buzz in the city that he does. This living here, everybody puts like the 2016 Cubs on the pedestal and Derrick Rose, even though he never won a championship here.
Yeah.
But Patrick Kane gets no love here, and I think it's kind of sad. We had the whole like Grant Park celebrations for the championships, and now it's packed out. But Chicago's kind of like LA when it comes to hockey. They're kind of like in and out. They're flaky when it comes to actually being all in and supporting the Blackhawks, which is very unfortunate because honestly, the last decade that we just went through, the Blackhawks was the most consistent team in the city, and the city that prides itself on being real tough sports fans. They got to call in with their ridiculous takes that they get from other morning shows when they call into these radio stations. Hey, let's talk to Ricky from North Lawndale. You're on ESPN 1000. How you doing? Let me tell you about this Matt Nagy character, okay? He's not the coach. He doesn't eat bratwurst. He wears a visor. We can have a sports discussion to the college.
We could do a whole show on this stuff, man.
I'd be remiss not doing a Chicago sports radio caller impression.
That was good.
Sounds like an AEW fan.
And by the way, Josh, Patrick Kane is one of the greatest American hockey players of all time, and he'll probably go down as one of the tops for sure. He's such a talented, fast player, and he should be revered as well as your captain, Jonathan Toews, for the longest time, in my opinion, was the most consistent and best overall player in the league. I agree with you right there, 100%.
How much of a heel is Patrick Kane in your land of field?
Oh, he's a big time heel because it's unfortunate, and I swear to God, there was a conspiracy because the year that the draft lottery happened, the Flyers were the worst team in the NHL, and the Blackhawks won the lottery, and you guys get Patrick Kane, we get JVR. Obviously, he's back now and whatever, but I just kick myself so many times, and I can't tell you how many times in ESPN, not ESPN, EA Sports, NHL, whatever. I do a fantasy draft, and Patrick Kane is the first player I pick or I trade for him because I wanted him to be on my team for the longest time.
Well, one last sports take, really quick. This has to do with NFL. For ESPN to put the Dallas Cowboys as number 5 in their football index power rankings. It's grade A, homogenized, Holstein, AT&T Stadium bullshit.
It's just so ridiculous, man. And the fact that Dak is asking for $45 million as a player is laughable, a joke. I wouldn't pay him that I wouldn't pay him that ever. He's not worth it. He hasn't won anything. Yeah, he's a decent quarterback, but for him to think he should be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL and strong arm, even a strong arm Jerry Jones, who I don't like that much, is ridiculous. And also, I want to give a big shout out to, I think it was Forbes that put the Cowboys fans as top 10 in terms of overall fan bases. That is also a joke because they're a bunch of bandwagon fans. And there's a funny term for Cowboys fans in Philadelphia, cockroaches. And those are the Cowboys fans that were born in Philadelphia that are just Cowboys fans to be trolls against Eagles fans. Cockroaches.
One of my favorite things to watch in sports media is when Stephen A. Smith talks about the Dallas Cowboys fans. It is so funny. When the Cowboys lose and he comes out with his cowboy hat and his cigar, and he's like, "It's been a wonderful weekend, but don't you worry, Cowboys fans. It's going to get even better."
He's definitely still trolling Skip Bayless, doing that the entire time.
As he should, because Skip Bayless is a freaking moron. So as he should.
Hey, Derek, you remember when Mitch was ripping up the Cowboys last season, and Stephen A. the next day had the cowboy hat on? He's like, "I'll tell you about that Mitch Trubisky."
I'm gonna tell you about that Mitch Trubisky. He ran up those Cowboys so good.
Oh man!
Oh, it's great. And then they bring on Swagoo and all these people, and then Stephen A. and Swagoo go back at it.
Let me just say this: Swagoo is the most fake bad person person that I ever see on sports talk show.
I don't know, man. I don't mind when Marcus
He's
Spears comes
so
on.
sensitive. It's ridiculous.
He is, but it's funny though. I don't mind when they get into it.
We all know Stephen A. Smith is defensive. We know that. We don't have to watch Joe and know he's defenseless. Then you got Max Kellerman, who's the personification of this era, snarky, annoying. I know he's a cool person and he has some good takes, and I enjoy his work on boxing, but just the presentation and the tone he carries himself is really, really annoying during this show. And then, of course, we go through the lowest common denominator, Colin Cowherd, and nothing else needs to be said after that.
No, I will say, and Matt, I've told you guys this before. I had a chance to meet Max Kellerman when he was down in New Orleans when they did the first take down here.
Yeah.
He is a really salt of the earth, really nice guy. He talked with me about boxing for I'm just some random dude that he didn't care about, but he spent a couple minutes talking to me about boxing.
Nice.
It was really cool. A+ Max Kellerman is a top notch dude.
I say the same thing about Joe Buck. I had the same experience with Joe Buck when I was a kid, and people hate Joe Buck. And Joe Buck was beyond nice to me, cared about me, my career goals, spend time with me, really, really. And this is in Philly at the Eagles Stadium.
This is like when people who again, back to wrestling, they just hate on these wrestlers because they're bashing them personally because of the characters they portray, or because of their job in the entertainment world. Don't make fun of them personally because they're doing their job and they're doing what they get paid to do. It's just so stupid.
It's the stupidest thing in all of media, especially sports media. How many times you listen to a Chicago or Philly radio station where the hosts are taking pot shots and character assaults towards Carson Wentz or it's Trubisky, no matter who the athlete. That's this thing is stupid because none of these guys who are on air who think they're talented would have the balls to say it to any of these guys' faces.
Yeah.
Right.
And look, some guys, and I love him to death, and he'll always be one of my favorite football players of all time. Some guys like Donovan McNabb, they don't necessarily, they put things out there that make people react, and they don't necessarily say the right things, but there's a difference between disagreeing with their opinions and getting really personal. And the same thing Josh that happens here with, Carson Wentz is the nicest guy in the world, and you would think that he did some heinous crime here in Philadelphia when people were talking about Carson versus Nick Foles. There was a whole debate last week about Carson versus Nick Foles, and because WIP was doing one of the greatest Philly sports debates, and we had people calling in saying Nick Foles, should have been capped and Carson should have been traded and all this. Just I heard this shit for years. It's nauseating.
Brett Carter, you're gonna love what I'm gonna mention next. You know how much I hate the word "if," right?
Yes, I know, Josh. I feel I as soon as he said "if," I was like, I wonder where he's gonna go with this. Mm-hmm.
If I hear one more time that Nick Foles is the savior of franchises, I'm gonna punch through this fucking Blackhawks poster behind me. Okay, I'm happy that he's on the team. I know he's a great guy. I think he'll do a good job since he knows the system. But stop with the freaking hyperbole and propaganda that this dude is finally going to have his opportunity that he's been waiting 7 fucking years to have one full season as a complete starter. Stop, please. Yeah. Oh, God.
He didn't do well with the Rams, and then he basically was going to retire, and Andy Reid convinced him not to. So he signed with the Chiefs and then signed with the Eagles, and obviously, played some amazing football, some of the best football I've ever seen a quarterback play in the playoffs. But to think that he should be a franchise quarterback and paid that much, the Jaguars just did that, and they got rid of him after 1 year. Josh, do I think that if Trubisky plays bad, do I think Foles can come in and play well and win you guys some games, even go on a run? Maybe. Right. Who knows? You guys have a great defense.
I'm all for that.
He's not the savior.
Yeah. Well, let's not. He's not a 15 quarterback. Go ahead, Brett Carter. No.
I was just gonna say, but everything in the NFL is so everybody thinks they knows what's gonna happen, but then they have one bad game, and then all of a sudden, well, that's it. He's done.
I don't know how Mitch was a Pro Bowl alternate and then has a disappointing season last year. Now everybody wants to run him out of the league.
Well, I think the thing with him though is he's always going to be attached to Deshaun Watson.
They're not in the same conference as him though.
No, I wasn't I'm talking about because they were all in the same class, right, and people traded up to get Mitch Trubisky when Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were available. But that's a stupid argument because you never know who's going to make the transition
Watson.
from college to the NFL.
I still would have picked Watson.
I think
over any of those quarterbacks, but that's just me.
I think Watson's overrated. To be honest,
Ooh.
I think there's a lot of his hype goes into what he did in college, and he did great stuff in Clemson. I'm not taking that away from him, but I think people kind of miss out the bad playoff performance he had with the Colts. Yeah, he squeaked out a victory against the Bills. Awesome. Great. But again, the Michael Jordan of quarterbacks does not give up a 24-point lead in a playoff game. And honestly, for me, for me personally, I think he's overrated. No, not overrated. I think he's overhyped, actually.
Sure. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But again, how many first-round picks ended up being total busts over the history of the NFL? And then how many second, third, fourth-round picks go on to have amazing careers? You just never know who's going to make the transition.
This is the last thing I mentioned in sports, and this goes out to all the NBA players, especially those who are going down to Disney. Stay the hell away from two places. First off, stay away from Mess Stadium. That's I call Camping World Stadium Mess Stadium.
Oh,
somebody offered me Matt. I told Matt this before. Somebody offered me Matt. Matt had to leave early and go back to his hotel during the main event, so we weren't able to hang out after the show. So I was getting out there. I took my student ass decided to walk from the stadium back to the hotel I was staying at. It was a good walk. I'll say that, but
yeah.
I needed to clear my head. I was crying like a little baby. Undertaker put his hat down. I thought it was over. I fell for the bait. So I understand Peacock's paid. So stay away from the area, but also stay away from Oviedo, Florida. And that's
No, Josh, my phone was dying. So I as soon as the match was over, I had to leave, and it was at 1%. I literally just got an Uber. And I was staying like in Disney with those guys, but yeah, that stadium and that surrounding area is a complete dump. And I'm sure you remember the big joke that I said like after WrestleMania 33 is that, oh yeah, I don't care because I left before the Undertaker retired. Everybody was crying, and I left. I didn't see it. It was a cool moment, but that was
but it's
Rob used to always GTFH.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting though, Josh, because if you watch The Last Ride, he really thought that was going to be it for him.
Yeah.
So you say you fell for the bait, but at that time, he thought he was done, and then all of a sudden he started to feel good, and then off you go. So,
and I didn't really think the match was that bad. Like watching it live, I thought it was fine.
It was. Well, again, this is another topic. It was okay because of Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns immediately turned it on and carried Taker through the end of that match. Because Taker even admitted, he's like, I was horrible in this match. Yeah. And very, very few performers could be able to turn it on like that and carry a legend through a match. And Roman Reigns is one of those guys. Oh, but I can't say that because I'm a mark and blah, blah, blah.
There's some context with that match. This is during the time where people are like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Roman's having another main event. It's not just Roman. It was Undertaker because, like you just said, Brooke, maybe Undertaker before that weekend thought that was just going to be his final match. So, of course, Undertaker should have the last match of WrestleMania. But people twisted it into, oh, here's another coronation for Roman Reigns. I watched the match back too. It was good. I can find some other matches from other wrestling promotions, Impact Wrestling, where you have a guy like Mike Elgin fight Ken Shamrock in match nobody wants to see.
How's Moose doing as the TNA champion?
Yeah.
Oh God, don't start, Bert Carter, please.
Sorry.
Here's my thing. I fell for the bait, and the whole symbolism of it with the going to purple, and then the thing that nobody mentions doesn't mention enough about that whole moment was the 3 gongs at the end of the show as it went off air when it went pitch black. I think you guys watched back on the show as it was happening, right? You guys remember that the 3 gongs after Undertaker went down the little tunnel thing? Man, I'm getting a little goosebumps just remembering about that now. That was a lot of fun, man. But you know what? Let's get into it. Let's get into this week in WWE before we head out for this week's lovely edition of the podcast at Hoots. I am alongside Brother Carter and the one only Mr. Matt McCool. Yes. I can't believe Moose is pretending to be the TNA World Champion.
I'm sorry, Josh.
You don't like Moose. I haven't watched TNA in a long time, but I know that I was always impressed by the fact he was an offensive lineman, and I watched some of his stuff a couple years ago. But he's actually not doing a good job, in your opinion, Josh?
No, I like Moose. I'm a fan of his. I actually interviewed Moose before when I was doing the old PWE show, but. It's just the whole concept of the fact that Tessa Blanchard cannot be on the show. She's the actual world champion for Impact, but she decided to move to Mexico with her, I don't know, fiance. I don't know if they're married or not, but yeah, Tessa's stuck in Mexico, so she can't be on these shows. And Moose is like, you know what? Yeah, they do this number one contenders tournament, but I'm just going to pretend that I'm the TNA World Champion. And I keep having this feeling that Impact is going to go back to TNA Impact Wrestling because they brought back Hernandez and remake all these guys from the original NWA TNA days. And, oh, man. That's why I have the frustration and disappointment that I have with AEW, because that's the blueprint right there. TNA is giving you the blueprint of everything you should not do when you're not a company that's not based in sports entertainment or what the WWE does. Because everything that AEW does is the same thing that TNA did about 10 years ago. Every single thing. Yep. Well, with the exception of not having Vince Russo and Jim Cornette in their creative team. Thank God. So, all right, let's do it. Let's talk about this week in WWE. We're a couple weeks out from Backlash. Before we get to Backlash, I want to read off a couple matches that are already announced for NXT TakeOver in Your House, which is taking place a week from this Sunday on the WWE Network. I put it on Twitter last night while I was transferring the show. In the history, you guys are looking back, In Your House started 25 years ago. I think this event for TakeOver has the best card out of any matches there on that event in the 90s. So we have Killer Cross against Tommaso Ciampa. Big Killer Cross mark. I've been consistent with that. That match is going to be awesome. Keith Lee against Johnny Gargano. Johnny Gargano's a heel. I don't know, Derek, if you've been able to catch up or see what Johnny's been doing as heel, but it's been pretty funny. I believe it. He makes you want to punch him in the face. That's how good of a heel he is.
That means he's doing his job. Means he's doing his job. That's awesome. I've always been a Gargano fan. I think he's the real deal. He's the complete package. I'm a big fan.
You know what? I had to take the L here and say that I was initially wrong on Bailey, and she's doing her job to piss people off. Okay, I have a compromise. Yep. Even though I don't like the Rosie O'Donnell haircut, all that being said, she is getting a reaction out of me, so she is doing her job. So I'll take. There you go. Third match. Speaking of women, Charlotte taking on Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai in the triple threat match for the NXT title. That's gonna be a barn burner.
Oh yeah, could be awesome.
You know, I think somebody needs to remind Rhea that she works for WWE because she acts like NXT is its own company and it's not. But yeah, that's gonna be a fun match. I'm looking forward to that. And then you had I mentioned Keith Lee and Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole against Velveteen Dream. Last chance. That's the last chance for Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship. And that was the other match that I remembered off the top of my head. Oh, I forgot. Finn Balor and Damian Priest. That's going to be a good match as well. So, NXT TakeOver in Your House taking on a week from this Sunday. This will be a good event. Man, I wonder how long it's going to take till fans get back into the arenas. Like which state is going to be the first one to have like
Florida?
Probably.
I mean, can you start in the Performance Center and just slowly start to bring people in, or maybe something at Full Sail University? Well, see, the problem is that's going to depend on what the university decides to do with classes and letting people in, and you know, as things are slowly starting to become more and more apparent with what the universities across the country are going to do, then Full Sail could start to decide what they're going to do. But I thought either at the Performance Center or Full Sail would be good, and then slowly start to ease it back.
Oh, the last show that had fans were actually inside the Performance Center, because you remember NXT had that show
right.
Performance Center before they had the whole shutdown and everything. So hopefully we get some normalcy soon. keep our positive thoughts and keep some positive energy going out there. All right. I guess, Matt, you've watched the show every single week, so we don't really break down every single segment for Raw. SmackDown is kind of like a general just thoughts and takeaways from the week as a whole. We're just going to talk really quick about what stood out from us for Raw and SmackDown this week, and then talk about this Backlash card that's starting to pile up. I have a good feeling what the actual full card is, but I'll mention it as we talk here. But I'll start off with Matt since he's our guest this week.
Could I go NXT for a second first?
Yeah, you could add NXT as well.
Yeah, so I think with NXT the last couple weeks, to me, that's really stood out is character development. I famously made comments about, I think her name is Joshie Blacker, the girl with the green hair. They did a backstage segment with her, and I thought it gave me everything I need to know about her character. Same with Damian Priest. I'm really enjoying Johnny Gargano and what Candice LeRae are doing right now in NXT. I think the In Your House card is going to be awesome. I just enjoyed NXT's presentation. Obviously, it's not the same as AEW, and they don't have the aesthetics. I think AEW has a lot of awesome aesthetics, being in Daly's Place, being in the stadium, being able to put off fireworks. I know NXT and WWE just added the wrestlers as fans, which I think is a really great wrinkle and does give it more of an actual wrestling fan show. But I've loved NXT, and I think, to me, the best part about Wednesday nights now is I get to watch two wrestling shows at once on two TVs. So you can be negative about AEW, negative about NXT, but I think the best part is just that we have two shows of wrestling in one night. And we get to experience, the Wednesday night wars, quote unquote. In terms of Raw and SmackDown, I want to start off with this, and this is going to really surprise the both of you. Okay. And I'm usually not a proponent of having Charlotte Flair in every single show, but at all. But I think what she brought to SmackDown with Sasha and Bayley was powerful. I think that she really helped advance her storyline and really asked Sasha as a character and two people that went to war together. Right. Sasha, do you really think you want to be Bayley's lackey forever? Is that really your destiny? And, the fact that Bayley kind of beat Charlotte's going to make her head a lot bigger. I thought it was going to go in a different way. Like Bayley was going to lose and that was going to kind of start the whole thing. But I'm obviously loving watching that because Jason Molotov famously quoted, "It's happening with Goldberg." And to me, it's happening now. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. I think the work that Edge and Randy Orton have done has been unbelievable. The promo work. I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's not the greatest match ever. Come on, WWE. Like, that's guys, it's a way to promote the show. It's a way to promote the show in the Performance Center. It's not going to be the greatest match ever. Probably not. Maybe. Who knows? But it's a way to promote the show, especially with a movie that a lot of people like a lot. It's funny they're using that song. I like that. I love Bobby Lashley and MVP. I think that's a great pairing there. Right. And I think overall, obviously it's not perfect in these Performance Center shows, but I think WWE is doing what they need to do. And I think the shows have gotten better as the performers, and the company has gotten more and more comfortable with being in the current environment they're in right now.
You guys want to hear some audio really quick?
Yeah,
sure.
I sent this to Brett Carter the other day. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I had a segment here out of the Hoots podcast in the past called the Yon Club.
Oh, yeah.
And this goes out to wrestling Twitter. This goes for everybody that's falling for debate. We talked about this last week, Brett Carter. They're using this slogan because Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer said that the last man standing match was the most boring match in the history of WrestleMania. And they're falling for debate right here.
All to try. They go back and Samoa Joe does in fact say, this might be the best wrestling match ever.
Why would they pick this match to do that when they've had
why would they pick any match to do that? Well,
I mean, there is a certain thing when you have two absolutely spectacular wrestlers, where you could do that as a tag line, and maybe you're right.
Yeah, but you know what? Wrong. It's not even like they're saying this could be the match of the year. Like they're saying
greatest match of all time.
This is the greatest match of all time. So pick any promotion on the planet right now. Okay, or 5 months ago, pick any promotion on the planet, pick any two guys in that promotion, even the best of the best of the best alive today, okay? And the chances are still against them having the best wrestling match of all time.
Greatly.
But I mean, I can promise you with everything I got that Randy Orton and Edge are not going to have the greatest wrestling match of all time. So why they're building this up, I don't understand. I guess because there's a subset of fans who actually will actually argue afterwards that it was the greatest wrestling match of all time. But that's a very small number of people. But
you're more setting people up for the idea that you're disappointing them, because now a great match is not even enough, because you're telling people it's got to be the greatest match of all time. I mean, just a simple great match. And I mean, no matter what talent Randy Orton has, I don't think Randy Orton has had a match in his life that is one of the 500 greatest matches of all time.
Dude, it's not even that, but like, imagine the best match.
All right, I'm going to stop right there. Go ahead, Matt.
All right, well, here's the deal is that, like, they, like Josh said, they literally hook, line, and sinker these guys. And the fact that they're even talking about that and the way they're talking about it, they accomplished their goal of this whole slogan and how they're promoting this whole pay-per-view. And that's it. Like, again, like, it's not going to be the greatest wrestling match of all time. And if you think it's going to be, and you think that WWE is promoting it in that way, then they got you, because that's not the case. It's just a way to promote a pay-per-view. It's marketing. Like, I don't understand. It's stupid.
What is the best match ever? Is it about moves? Was it 90-minute 2 out of 3 falls match with Okada and Omega the best wrestling match ever?
No.
No.
It's about storytelling. The best match of all time involves storytelling and the build-up. And so, again, like, you guys are exactly right. This is the angle that Orton and Edge are trying to play, because they're trying, it's about storytelling. The greatest match of all time, that's not a technical thing. That's not what they're trying to do. They're using that to build the story, because that's what the story is based around. It's based around wrestling. It's not based around gimmicks and gimmick matches and stuff like that. So it's like you guys are right. It's a promotional tactic to build a storyline. It's not what the company is trying to bill this match as.
Derek, really quick, what was your thoughts overall from the week of wrestling? Where small, Raw, SmackDown, Raw, whatever stood out to you, positively or negatively?
Sure. Just a couple things overall. I thought it was a great week of wrestling. I thought there were some great matches on SmackDown this week. Always great to see AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura go at it. I thought that was excellent. I really enjoyed the tag match with Otis and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler, because, again, they're continuing to build that storyline going forward. So I thought that was really fine. Congratulations to Apollo Crews on capturing his first championship in WWE. I think that's excellent. I was surprised by that, to be completely honest. I thought Andrade was gonna win, and they were gonna continue that going forward. But again, congrats to Apollo Crews. I thought that was great. I like Austin Theory starting his time with Seth Rollins. I think that's clearly going to work. And Zelina Vega's stable is slowly starting to dissolve, and you can see the splits there. So I thought that was really, really terrific as well. Let's see, one other thing. There's one other thing I was going to talk about, which is the golf match between.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
That was really funny. I thought that was just hilarious. I thought it was just the right amount of time. They didn't take 5 segments like they did the week before for the axe throwing contest. So it was just the right amount of time. I like how it led the Street Profits into the main event of Raw, because MVP and Lashley came out and stuff. So some really great things this week, and I really enjoyed both shows.
All right, really quick, this what stood out to me. I agree with you, Brett Carter, about the AJ and Nakamura. They always have good matches, so it was good to see that again. I thought Sheamus and Jeff Hardy was pretty solid too, even though it was a little slower paced match than the first one we saw at SmackDown. But I thought that was a good match. I don't know why Sheamus hates Michael Cole so much, but it's funny. I'll go for it. Initially, I was surprised. But I am happy for Apollo Crews that he did become the United States champion. The only reason I was surprised because I thought possibly that Angel Garza was going to turn on Almas and have Zelina be his matcher going for it. Like, Zelina turns on Almas and has Angel Garza be the actual star of the group. Because honestly, for me, when it was Theory, Garza, and Almas, I thought Garza was the one that stood out the most out of all three,
for sure,
from my point of view. And I thought that'd be a good way to go. Maybe you could still do that. Maybe they have Cruz and Almas in a rematch at Backlash, and we'll see what happens. But because you saw during the match, they had Garza doing a backstage interview while the match was going on.
Yeah, that was. You know who's it should end up being Charlie Caruso, because I think that would be hilarious. That Angel Garza was able to woo Charlie Caruso enough that Caruso, caused I think that those two together are hilarious.
Really quick, I really enjoyed the triple threat match from Raw this week with the women Charlotte, Nia, and Natalya. I thought that was a really good match to determine who will fight Asuka at Backlash. Man, I me personally, how they had the GIF on Twitter, like you like to see the world burn. I wanted to see what the reaction would have been if Charlotte actually won that match. But I all in all, I thought the match layout was good, and I think the right person won in Nia. So I'm not the biggest Nia Jax fan in the world, but this would be a good tune-up match for Asuka being the champion, and she could just run through her really quick. So it's not going to be any long feud in that point of view. Speaking of character development, I don't know where they're going with Liv Morgan, but I like the fact that she's talking more. Anytime I see Liv Morgan on my screen, it's a good thing. What did I use a couple weeks ago? Oh, vanilla wafer water. Yeah. There you go.
That got me big time. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, Josh. I thought the match on Monday was great. I thought all three performers came off looking strong. They told a great story. It was an exciting match. I actually didn't even watch it live because I figured just based on the story that Nia was going to win. Mm-hmm. And I did really, really, really enjoy Nia and Asuka's work in NXT together. Right. The famous Nia scream against the camera and Asuka just kicks her in the head. The match is over. I'll always remember it because my dad thinks it's hilarious. And I also want to say how much I have enjoyed and continue to enjoy Asuka. And I've said this to Josh and to Derek. I think that Asuka can say more, not speaking English and shouting in Japanese and with her facial expressions. And I'm even at this point, even when she's speaking Japanese on commentary and she's reacting to something, I know what she's trying to say, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Asuka. Go ahead, Brett. My bad.
I would say Asuka's been, I've always said that Asuka has been my top. She's my number 2 for female wrestlers in the world, of course, behind the GOAT Charlotte Flair. But now what Asuka has been doing now is just I crack up every single week, and she deserves every accolade that she's been getting over the last few months. She's terrific.
Let's see what else really stood out really quick. I agree with you with the Bobby Lashley MVP pairing. Brett Carr, I think I like what they're doing with them. I thought the VIP lounge was really good. VP and Drew. I thought that was a really good segment. And then you had you mentioned the main event with the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley and MVP. I thought that was cool. And then was there anything else that I forgot that I wanted to mention? Here you go. Everybody put some respect on the Monday Night Messiah's name, because not only was that tag team match was good, but the whole little hostage thing where he was threatening to sacrifice Carrillo, I thought that was great. And Seth Rollins, I think he said it perfectly himself on backstage. I do think he's clicking on all cylinders with this character, and it's some good shit, pal.
right there with you.
Awesome.
I think that shirt on the WWE shop is hilarious. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I did.
With Vince, this is some good shit.
Right. All right. Before we get into the 3-count questions, we're about to wrap up the show in a couple minutes. But here's the matches for Backlash. Obviously, we got Edge and Randy Orton. Probably tell a better story than some of the 500 matches that Dave Meltzer was talking about a couple minutes ago. You got Asuka and Nia Jax. Probably on the SmackDown side, we'll see what happens with Bayley tomorrow. Maybe get a number 1 contenders match or something like that in the coming weeks to see who she fights. I honestly would not be surprised if Bayley fights Charlotte on the show. Or maybe Bayley's like, hey, I beat Charlotte, so I should get an NXT title shot. Maybe a little reverse psychology there, something like that. And then Charlotte's like, why doesn't Sasha be the special guest referee? Bookie sessions with Joshie.
Give this man a job.
Apollo Crews, Andrade, I'm pretty sure that'll be added. Sheamus, Jeff Hardy. I think definitely go with Seth Rollins and Aleister Black for Backlash. That's going to be awesome. And then Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley. Be remiss without mentioning Braun Strowman against The Miz and John Morrison. Hey. Yeah. Ho. I see this. I thought SmackDown made the right decision with having this handicap match since there wasn't that much weeks to build for the Backlash show. You didn't have to rush going back to the Bray Wyatt thing. The Fiend could come back at Backlash, and then we get ready going full speed to SummerSlam and stuff. So,
if you even wanted to have him come back at the June, later on in the summer, like you can keep the Fiend off television until July, and I think it would be absolutely fine.
Right. Yeah, so I like the decision to go with the handicap match here. And then here's one more match. New Day, Forgotten Sons, probably the SmackDown tag team titles. So
did we talk about the finals of the Intercontinental Championship tournament?
Oh
no.
AJ Styles against Jeff Hardy? Or who? No, it'll be AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan.
It's
Daniel Bryan, yeah.
It's AJ versus Elias, and then Jeff Hardy versus
Daniel Bryan, yeah.
So, yeah, I would think it would be AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan in the finals of the Intercontinental Championship tournament. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be just fantastic.
When you kind of rat off the card there, Josh, and it sounds like it's loaded. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the show. In terms of what Bayley does, I don't know. I think Lacey Evans has a new shirt out, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them go back to Lacey, even though they've done it like so many times, just to kind of use it as a bridge to get towards SummerSlam. Even though I'm not 100% sure whether they will do Sasha and Bayley at SummerSlam if there's no fans around, because they obviously wanted, Sasha to be the face in the Boston crowd and have a big pop when she wins. But who knows? I think it's going to be a good show. It's going to be fun. And also in terms of where Bayley goes with the NXT Championship in Charlotte, it depends if Charlotte retains. I'm not sure where you guys stand on that.
I think Charlotte definitely will retain.
For sure.
I think for her, and especially for Rhea Ripley, the better moment is having Rhea win the title with fans back in the stands. So whatever the takeover following this one be the better option there. So do you guys like the option of Sasha being a special guest referee? I forgot to mention.
Love it.
I forgot to mention Iconics and Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. I thought that against them. So they'll probably find a Backlash in the kickoff show too. So
yep, I think it's gonna be great.
All right, man. Okay, real quick before we head out, we asked a couple of 3-count questions. Matt, the floor is yours, good brother.
All right, let me just pull these questions up really fast here. All right. We'll do a little 3-count. 3-count. The old theme song. All right. The first question comes from our old friend Nate the Human at Psycho Nagiri.
Oh wow.
Nate the Great, baby. Nuclear Shrimp. Old school.
Oh, good to hear from Nate again. Yeah, that's
what's
awesome.
Keeping you motivated in this crazy time? Has wrestling taken a backseat or become a priority for you lately? I haven't been watched live for a while. He hasn't been able to watch live for a while. Okay.
For me personally, no. Honestly, I would not know how it would be with this pandemic if I didn't have wrestling. Mm-hmm. It's been able to help me financially still work in a way, even though my main work is at the tattoo shop. I'm still able to work from home and do my articles and do this show every single week. So if anything, it's been a saving grace for me. And I've even having more appreciation for what's going on right now with wrestling. And it's giving me more motivation to cover more shows, study more sequences and wrestlers, and helps me longer down the path of becoming the broadcaster, wrestling play-by-play guy. So no, if anything, wrestling has actually made me enjoy it and appreciate it more because it's not away right now. So that would be my answer for that.
Yeah, for me, it's been, I've fortunately with my job, I've been able to work from home, teach from home. So that part about it's been great. I've had a chance to catch up on some projects that I've always wanted to do, but just haven't had the time to do it. So I've been, again, watching some wrestling, watching a little more wrestling, which has been great. I've been getting to be a regular panelist on the Hoots podcast, which I, in my normal job, just when we get back to normal, unfortunately, I'll have to focus on that. But get to do this has been a lot of fun. So no, wrestling has been a great way for me to pass the time is the wrong word, but a chance to, get away from the craziness of the world a little bit. And so I think it's just been terrific. So it's really been helpful as I've gone through. But I've been reading more and just again working on some side projects, and I've been doing just fine.
Matt.
For me, what's kept me motivated? Honestly, has been wrestling. I have missed doing this more than almost anything. And to me, I'm with Josh. Like, I have no idea, being the big sports fan that I am, aside from wrestling, what I would have done if there was not one of my favorite things on and there wasn't wrestling. Like, it really has brought me closer to the product. It's allowed me to watch, a lot more wrestling, which has been great. And, study and read books and just really just dive into my passion for this. And I'm more in tune with the product and with AEW and NXT and Raw and SmackDown than not that I wasn't, but then I was when this whole thing started. So I really enjoyed it. And honestly, like, the first thing that I go to after this is all over will probably be the first show that Vince does or whatever that's around here, SummerSlam, whatever it is, will be a wrestling show. So I've enjoyed it. Obviously, it's not the same as it is with the crowd, but it's also allowed for a lot of creative freedom with, the Boneyard match and Stadium Stampede and different fun things, I think, that are really going to help the product moving forward coming out of this whole pandemic.
All right, well, what's the final question, my man?
Final question comes from another one of our old friends, Mike at Main Event Swerve.
Yes.
That sounds awesome for all involved. I'm fired up about partial crowds in WWE. What is the best storyline you guys would like to see involving a WWE audience member from NXT interfering or starting someone in ring action with a WWE Raw or SmackDown superstar? Can I get this one first? It just literally came to mind. Okay. Cue Brock Lesnar returns on Raw. Cue Matt Riddle be in the crowd. Cue Matt Riddle main roster debut, and that's your feud, Matt Riddle and Brock Lesnar.
Just for a one-off match, I don't know if it'd be a storyline, but just have Charlotte come out on Raw and poke fun at Shotzi Blackheart, and they could do something on the show. That'd be my pick.
For me, it'd be something with Drew McIntyre, because I think Drew McIntyre never got his big pop WrestleMania moment in front of a live crowd. So something when an audience member can come out and say, "Well, you didn't deserve this moment because of you're not a great performer," so blah 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 blah. So I think it's gonna be something with Drew McIntyre.
I found a good creative idea. Maybe it's a bad idea. I don't know. I'll get you guys' thoughts on it. Have Keith Corbin come out and poke fun at Eric Bugenhagen, and Bugenhagen beats him, kind of like Razor Remote.
That's funny.
I like it. I like it. It's great.
I can't do his scream right now. I'm not gonna throw my voice out. No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Appreciate that.
All right, the last thing I wanted to mention is kind of like a spoken word type of thing. There's a lot of negative energy that's going around right now in this world. My thoughts go out to the family of George Floyd, who fortunately was ridiculously murdered the other day for absolutely no reason. It's just that for me, I'm in a tough situation because I have uncles from my dad's side of the family who do work in the police force, and it's just very shitty circumstances what the system is and what's accessible for discipline and whatever the situation adheres to. But there was no reason why that young man should have been murdered. Absolutely no reason like that. And there's a lot of things in society that needs to change from a mental and just infrastructure way of the way we go about talking to each other, the way we think about things. I mention this here every single week on the show, to be the authentic product that is yourself and not let people dictate the way you go about life, the way you think about things. If you can't think for yourself and you can't make decisions for yourself, you're not going to progress in any way of life, whether it's professionally, personally, whatever the situation is. You have to think for yourself. And I think a lot of us are very blinded by status quo and the way we live, the way we're raised and all that stuff. And it's great. I have nothing wrong with family traditions and all that. I understand that. But whether you're gay, black, Asian, heterosexual, whatever the situation is, all of us are equal. And I'm getting really fucking tired of seeing people being ridiculed. The fact that Hannah Kimura ended her life over cyberbullying is absolutely ridiculous. And it's something that should never happen. And I really feel sad in the state of where we are as society as a whole, because none of us treat each other just generally. It's always off of perception. I put this on Instagram the other day. Perception is not the reality, especially for people who don't know your reality. And I just think it's really sad. And what JD did the other day, JD from New York, that made that post about Alexa Bliss the other day, was fucking disgusting. And as somebody who's been doing this line of work for 7 years, it pisses me off, because what we try to do here on the Hoots podcast is try to remind you that it's fun to be a wrestling fan and talk about wrestling. I think we really do something positive. Yes, were we negative and constructive with what we're talking about AEW in the beginning? So yes, but that's different from balancing out our thoughts on the show instead of throwing insults at somebody as a person. And I think that's fucking ridiculous. That dude has no idea what sex is like. And to even mention that, it's just fucking ridiculous. It shouldn't happen, and I think it's appalling. So I didn't want to end the show in a bad note, but I felt like this is something I really need to get off my chest, because the cyberbullying, the racism, the back and forth issues with politics where people turn on each other for who they vote for or whatever the situation. I'm not Democrat or Republican. I don't care what it is. I hate that wrestling fans go after wrestlers who support Donald Trump. I'm not a Donald Trump fan. If they vote for him, that means I have to hate them as a wrestling character. That's their prerogative. That's what they want to do. I'm tired of people feel like they have to make decisions for other people. Be you at the end of the day. And that's my spoken word. So
bravo.
All right, man. I know we were at a negative part, but I've been thinking about this a lot the last couple of days. I need to get it off my chest, but we're gonna wrap up. This is a lot of fun today, boys.
It was great.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome. So good to do this again. It was awesome. It was terrific.
Make sure to follow Brother Carter on Twitter at Derek Stoughton, and also Dereko06 on Instagram. Matt is on Twitter. Oh, by the way, check out Brother Carter's articles at WrestlingRumors.net as well.
Thank you.
Make sure to follow Matt on Twitter at MattMcCool24. Matt, can you tell us a little bit about a new show you got coming up with referee Tony? Any updates on that end?
Yeah, so we're actually recording our first episode on Saturday. Really, It's been in the works for a long time. Me and Tony obviously did, checking the boots, and he was on the pipe bomb. And, these two guys here are going to be a big part of it too, be on the show a lot and stuff. But I'm really looking forward to getting back in the game. And I think one of the things that for our show that I'm going to try and bring into it is you're just talking about the business, talking about numbers, talking about, financials, the company as a whole, because I think it's hard as wrestling fans to, like I said, talk about booking, talk about who should be pushed, talk about knowing the business without bringing in the business side of it. And plus other fan stuff, having fun, old stuff. So yeah, me and Tony are coming out with a new show pretty soon. Name is still TBD. Josh, any ideas, guys, please tweet me at MattMcCool24 and Tony's at referee Tony S. But Josh, I really appreciate you having me on. It was so much fun. Like I always say with you guys, just like brothers shooting the shit. And, we blink and we've been recording for an hour and 50 minutes. So that just says so much about, how close we are. And it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
No, I appreciate you, brother. You're the man. What really bothers me, what happened the other day with JD, is like it paints a bad light of what this show represents and what wrestling podcasts are as a whole. Because that's not what it is. Yeah, do I joke around about Waterfall? Yes, but I'm not going to go on my way to intentionally disrespect a woman. So I just think that's absolutely ridiculous. But you guys killed it today. This has been one of my favorite shows that we've done so far. And we'll be back next week. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at the Hoots Podcast. Check me out on Instagram, Joshie Lopez 94. Also, I sporadically throughout the months and stuff, I occasionally appear on ESPN 1000 for Tuesday, Wrestling Tuesday. Hopefully I can work for the station sooner or later, but it's fun. Check out Tuesday, Wrestling Tuesday. And finally, ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Bookmark that bad boy and subscribe to the Hoots podcast so you never miss an episode. So, for Brother Carter and Mitchell McMule, I am Brother Adam. Thank you guys so much for checking out episode 207 of the Hoots podcast. We'll love you guys and have a wonderful weekend. And we'll talk to you next week. Yes, sir.